Are you ready to make 2022 a year of authentic sales success? Welcome to the 2022 Authentic Selling Challenge, brought to you by the Selling from the Heart Insiders Group. Each day, you will be inspired, equipped, and challenged to take action to unlock higher levels of success and fulfillment in your sales career. You're about to be coached by some of the sales world's foremost thought leaders and influencers. This is going to be practical and fun, so grab a pen and a notepad and get ready to take action as we join our challenge hosts, Larry Levine and Daryl Amy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the 2022 Authentic Selling Challenge. Daryl Amy here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Hey, I'm super excited for this, but I can't believe this is round 2 of this already. Here we go.
It is fantastic. We're here. It's 2022. The year is on. It's going. We're in motion, and we have got an incredible week queued up. It's good to see Gina here. George is here. Hey, we got Chris here all the way from Calgary, Alberta, my home country. Chris, welcome. It's great to see you, and we are so excited, Larry. I can't wait to hear from Jeffrey and Jennifer Gitomer today. What a treat we're in for.
Yeah, no, it's good to see everyone chiming in. It's good to see Bryn Tillman, Brad Rennick. Hey, how's it going?
That's good. Yeah, look, Dave Sanderson's in the house too. So we got a great day lined up, and I'm so excited about this. And as we get this year kicked off, one of the things that's really, really important is that we look at this year as a year of authentic success. And when we talk about authentic success, we're talking about hitting the number, crushing the number, but we're also talking about doing it in a way that brings fulfillment. And I'm just looking at the names coming through here, and I know we've got people on the meeting today and people listening afterwards that go, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want a year of authentic success. And Larry, I'm so excited to be able to kick it off.
Yeah, and we always say here at Selling from the Heart that authenticity is a lifestyle. It's not a light switch. And we're going to learn about this all week long.
Brad, it's great to see you. And speaking of authenticity being a lifestyle, a shout out today to our sponsor. Today, this week, we'll be hearing from the Selling from the Heart Insiders Group and talk about a lifestyle. Every week, we get to hang out with sales professionals that are dedicated to being genuine, being authentic, adding real value, all the things we talk about in Selling from the Heart, and the lifestyle that we're seeing inside this group of authentic sales professionals. Larry, it's been so inspirational.
It's been a great community, and more importantly is the micro communities that have formed in it. Is people who now have built friendships, they have accountability partners, and they're actually out spreading the word.
It's amazing. So a quick word from our friends at the Insiders Group. All right.
Oh, so good.
What a great
Hey,
time.
really quick, before I get rolling, I was just looking at the comments, and I want to give a shout out to Bob Matson, because he goes, I wish I'd have received this information earlier, but you're on the call. I agree. Jeffrey Gitomer is the greatest.
That's right. Hey, it's the king of sales himself. He's in the green room. I can see him giving the thumbs up right now. Hey, this is fantastic. And, as we get this kicked off today, the reality is authenticity, as you say, is a lifestyle and not a light switch. It's something that's really, really critical for sales success. And one of the quotes we used last year that we want to kick things off today with is from the great Stephen Covey. And Stephen Covey says, private victory precedes public victory. It's what we do behind the scenes that makes all the difference in terms of what happens publicly. And Larry, there's no more true profession where that could be said than the sales profession.
No, I totally agree. And just to echo that quote that you just used is, in fact, it was my weekly message that I just dropped this morning, and it was my article from Sunday. Is I'm a big, huge believer. If you want to grow sales in 2022, you got to grow yourself. You got to bring your authentic self to the forefront.
That's absolutely right. And so as we're moving through this week, we're going to be hitting on a lot of different angles around authenticity. And in fact, I want to put this up and we'll share this in social for everybody that's in the challenge group. But when you think about sales success, behind it is personal transformation. It's the things on the inside, getting our heart, our mind, the energy of our body correct. And then on the outside, everything we talked about in building trust, right, Larry?
Yeah, it's about building authentic relationships and combining it with meaningful value. The best part about this, and this is where the accelerator happens, is the inspirational experiences you bring to each and every relationship and each and every conversation.
Yeah. So as we move throughout this week, we're going to be talking about different angles on what it means to drive authentic sales success. But really, Larry, it begins with the heart. And I think all of it, every week on the Selling from the Heart podcast, we ask every guest, if you've listened to one episode or listened to all 400 or however many there are out there, the one thing that's in common with everything is selling from the heart always begins with, I give a rip. I care about people. And it's that heart capacity that we need to develop for authenticity that is so critical because look, people can smell inauthenticity, faster than anything.
It's why I always refer to a lot of people in sales as being empty suits. But I remember, because we always ask every single one of our guests, and I think this is a great way to tee this up, Daryl, is on the podcast, we always ask, what's it mean to you to sell from the heart? And I remember a couple of years ago, a guest on the podcast dropping this, he goes, it depends on what's in your heart.
That's right.
And that's why we're a firm believer that heart comes first.
Absolutely. Well, when you talk about heart, when you talk about authenticity, we couldn't think of anyone better to kick off this challenge than this dynamic duo we're about to introduce. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2022 Authentic Selling Challenge. Our friends, Jeffrey and Jen Gitomer. How's it going this morning?
Hey. I couldn't think of anybody better either. So we're even on that
authentic.
No,
one. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's why we had to have you guys on here, because when it comes to authenticity, I can't think of two people that just exude authenticity like you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I learned authenticity by studying non-authenticity and insincerity in New York City when I cut my teeth selling, and I was up against people that were, you speak French?
Un peu.
Flying assholes. and I thought, these guys are not going to win. And they didn't. They sounded like some kind of scripted person that couldn't wait to get past the objection and into the close so they could walk away with a deal. And we're always disappointed when the buyer said, can you send me a proposal? Because what that means in New York City speak is, no, go away.
Right.
And it was unbelievable to me how many people fit into that category, how many salespeople. And it inspired me to be authentic.
No, I think here, this would be a great way to start it up. And hey, Daryl, let's just flip this around for Jen and Jeffrey's, because Jeffrey's already experienced it. Jen, I know you're coming on the podcast here soon, but we always ask, what's it mean to you to sell from the heart? I think we could flip this around and just out of curiosity from the both of you is, what's authenticity mean to you? How would you define it in your own terms? Jen, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So for me, it's being real. Did I freeze?
No, you're all good.
Oh,
good.
okay.
Solo.
I froze on my side, so that's good if I didn't freeze on your side. For me, it's all about being real and showing up with whatever is underneath you, without trying to mask it, without trying to pretend to be someone that you're not, and just showing up and being real. And I'll give you an example. I used to edit the hell out of my podcast. I used to want it to sound, in the very beginning, I wanted it to sound perfect, but perfect isn't authentic. And because I don't know about you, but I'm not perfect. Most of us are not perfect. And maybe Jeffrey.
Well, no, I knew it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter.
And what I decided was, why don't I just not edit it at all? And so there'll be times on my podcast where I literally say something like, what's that word? You know, the word, as if I'm talking to you and having a real conversation where, you know, in a sentence, you're like, what's the word that means this? And then the other person's like, oh, this is it. But I'm having a conversation with myself. And I'm like, oh, it's this word. Okay, cool. So let's keep going. And I don't edit it because that's what would happen in a real conversation. And I have gotten, since doing that for the past year or so, I've gotten so many responses in the DMs on Instagram saying, oh my God, I love that you don't edit your podcast because I feel like I can relate to you more. And so when you show up authentically, you're actually more relatable than when you show up trying to be that perfect version of yourself.
I'm going to throw something at you. For those of you who are old people, this is
I recognize that immediately.
Bullwinkle. But what is in here are Sherman and Mr. Peabody, and they are talking about the Wayback Machine. And the Wayback Machine takes you to a place in time where something happened, a story, something. And let me share with you something about authenticity that will ring true with everyone who's listening. I got a call from a large company, a Fortune 10 company, saying that they had been through 8 potential trainers and couldn't find anyone. Would I please come and audition for the job to be a customer loyalty, customer service trainer? Me and 2 other guys. So I went and I wore my work shirt, and everyone else had a suit on, and they looked like they slept in it. And I was chosen. So we get into the room where we're going to talk about how much money, because it's a 6-figure deal. And I said, before we start, I want to know why you picked me. And the leader said, because you weren't buttoned down. That was his definition of authenticity. And so you have to look at not simply the word authenticity, but how does your customer define it so that in the final analysis, they choose you. Like they like Jen's unedited podcast, and they like the fact that I showed up as myself, gave people shit when they threw it at me, wouldn't take any of their pushback, and I won. I won because I was me, and the other guys were trying to be, I can't script it. They were, they were going through their rigmarole.
Yeah, why do you think reps struggle so much with this? Because this is something that people do struggle with in sales, and what makes this so hard to do? Because I hope we're all authentic one-on-one in a personal relationship, but all of a sudden you step into a business environment or a sales scenario, and it seems like it becomes a whole lot easier to, be scripted.
Yeah,
it's a job. They have a quota, and they're trying to make their quota rather than loving what they do.
And also the influx of social media and online comparisonitis, all of that, in my opinion, has really led to people feeling like they have to be something they're not in order to make sales. Well, I see this guy being really successful over here, so if I'm more like him, then maybe people will want to buy from me. And what they don't understand is that guy over there who's successful is just being himself. So it works for him because he's being himself. But when you go and try and be like someone else, and it's not you, and it doesn't come back to your values and your personality and who you are, then it doesn't work for you. And it's the same thing with like sales enablement. I love sales enablement. Great stuff. But when everything is templated and almost robotic, it takes the human authenticity piece out of it. And that's actually the point in which makes people want to buy, because that's what people relate to. They don't relate to the robotic stuff.
Sales enablement is for weak salespeople who don't know how to make sales.
Oh,
You got to repeat that one again. Repeat that one again.
Sales enablement is for weak salespeople that do not know how to make sales,
And
and
if
they
you were
don't love
ever
what they do, and they have a quota.
If you were ever considering sponsoring us as a sales enablement company,
Probably wouldn't be your best guy.
please just keep fast forward
Yeah.
30 seconds.
No, we're authentic. We'll take your money and say how great you are.
yeah, but it's true though. You can't lean on that and just be a robot and
It's
just
bullshit. Sales enablement it's a 2-word definition. It's not bullshit. It's total bullshit. And I think that the company, there's companies making millions of dollars selling that crap to big companies that are looking for a solution. And well, we bought the sales enablement program and this should work like crazy. But the fact is, if you don't have a relationship with somebody, if you're not providing value beyond the thought of price, if you're not differentiating yourself from your competitor, enablement's not going to help you worth a damn at all.
And here I want to layer into this because I've heard some words throughout our time together about connecting and relating, 2 words that are near and dear to me. And here's where I see salespeople struggling straight across the board. And it becomes apparent when we hide behind scripts and templates, is the conversational incompetence that goes on within the sales world is just sky high right now because we're hiding behind tech. I'm all for tech. In fact, we're using tech right now. I'm all for it. But let's not hide behind it. Let's leverage this to humanize what we do, to help us engage in better conversations. But when we script things and hide behind all of it, it taps and it ruins our authenticity because it doesn't allow us to be who we really are. And this is what I struggled with early on in my sales career, was trying to memorize scripts. And it was difficult because I just couldn't resonate with it.
It's stupid. But here's what salespeople don't do. Just call me up and have a cup of coffee with me. Just do that. And send me my favorite K-cups and send me a mug and I'm in. I'll never miss the meeting. But salespeople are too busy with their pitch and their bullshit to figure out what the customer really wants and how they want it or why they want it. And then they wonder why the customers won't return a call from a proposal that was sent. It's the biggest indicator that you have failed. Not that you didn't send, you have failed as a salesperson to gain the interest of the prospective customer beyond a piece of paper and a price.
Yeah, so where I see the tech go wrong is tech needs to work, and I think this goes to what you were saying, Larry. Tech needs to work seamlessly in the background, almost like something like your backstage crew at a theater, at a theater performance, so that the star can go on stage and perform. We don't see all the things happening behind the curtain. In fact, that would be a distraction to the show, right? And so the tech, the sales enablement, all of that stuff needs to work behind the scenes to make what's in the forefront, what's on stage, come to life. And what happens when it comes to life is that connection. Why do you enjoy a theater performance? Why do you enjoy a show? It's because you feel some sort of actual emotional connection to it. And that's what all this stuff that the scripts, the templates, the trainers, the coaches, everything that's happening in the background needs to bring that salesperson to life to create that emotional connection.
Exactly. Jenny, that we had the specific example of that this past week. I've done a lot of speeches, more than 2,500 of them in public rooms, hotel rooms, wherever, resorts. And there's always a crew. And the crew and I get together the night before and I say, listen, I have a motto for all AV tech people. And they go, wow, what is it? I said, don't fuck it up. What happens is they don't understand that the room has to be transparent in order for me to be able to deliver a message without an interruption.
Mhm.
So we were a little rushed and we had a talk here in Charlotte, and Jen came over without a sound check and her mic didn't work well. So in the middle of her, at the beginning of her talk, I had to switch out mics with her. She got all upset about it, but the audience didn't really care because they love her. And I think the challenge there is if you're not ready for that talk to deliver it seamlessly, your authenticity is compromised. Totally compromised. Looks like you didn't get ready.
Yeah.
And it's cool because they could see how I recovered, right? They could see I wasn't like cursing out the mic or anything. I just simply said, Jeffrey, we need to switch mics right now. And, and it was pretty straightforward and that fixed it. But then your recovery is shown, your authenticity is shown in how you recover. Your authenticity is shown in how resilient you are from something like that, because that is a setback. That could have derailed the entire presentation.
Mhm.
And in fact, if that was my first presentation ever, it may have. But I just took the new mic and kept going. And they could see that. And when you do that, that calms everyone else down. And so when you're in a sales situation and something's not going your way, or you don't like the way in which something's gone, you can do the same thing. You just have to figure out how to get it back on track and bring them in with your values and your heart, and then go from there.
And you can take risks. If you don't take risks, you don't win. And I've been in New York City selling situations where I've said to the person on the other side of the table, "Oh, I apologize. I confused you with someone who gave a shit." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I go on to explain what I mean, and they buy. If you're authentically a little bit aggressive, I like to use the word assertive. If you're authentic in your assertiveness, you're going to win.
And Jeffrey, that's your way of being authentic. You might throw out a curse word here or there that that really gets someone's attention. But for someone else who's listening, they might not ever use those kinds of words, and them putting it in would be inauthentic.
Yes.
And so you have to go what authenticity goes back to, especially in selling, is what's at your core. What's your heart?
No argument with that.
No, I totally agree. And it goes back to, I think this whole thing around authenticity and really being your authentic self is you have to have high self-worth about who you are, and you have to walk with confidence. And I think, regardless if you're at C-level conversations, mid-level manager, you're talking to a purchasing agent, or you're talking to whoever, they sense this stuff. And when you walk into conversations and you lack confidence, I believe it comes out in the words like and but and things like that, and how you deliver your message, and people will sense it right away. I firmly believe it.
If you have confidence and authenticity, then you can be more assertive about how you believe in who you are and what you're conveying. And you're conveying a message and a product, or a message and a service. And that has to be done in a way that's just unwavering. You can't say, well, I think it might be. You can't be thinking. You have to say, this is what it is.
Right. So there's something called soft talk, and it goes deeper than those words of ums and uhs. It's words like and maybe, and I guess, I think, could, this could be, probably, perhaps. And there's a time and a place to use these words where you specifically want to soften the language that you're using. And then there's a time and a place where when you use those words, it creates conflict instead of solid talk, which would clarify the communication and all the feels. And, it's like, I think this product might be really good for you. Well, if you're the salesperson, you can't think this product is really good for me. You have to, you should be saying, this product is going to be most effective for you because Okay. When we use the word because, it's 74%. I'm using Jeffrey's percentage, but it's up there. 74% more likely to result in a sales statement. So you can't use words that are soft because they lessen your argument. And as a salesperson, you really do need to pay attention to those words. And write these words down, go back, and I'll repeat them if you want, but write them down and figure out which is the word that you say most, because we all have one of these words that we throw in there. For some people, it's, I think that I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. I might, probably, like, no. If you're going to go get a cup of coffee, just say, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee, right? But we throw these words in to soften it. And now is the time to start writing those words down and paying attention to when you're using them so that you can remove them from your vocabulary.
Jen, you're stepping on my polite Canadian toes. I think I'm going to stop doing that.
Yes. Yes.
I learned rudeness in New York City. It's a way of life, and it's not actually rude. It's just matter of fact. And once you realize it's matter of fact, you're allowed to carry that forward.
Yeah.
There's a difference between thinking you're being polite and being assertive in a way that helps you get the sale. And as a byproduct of helping you get the sale, helps you impact that client in a greater way. If you're just trying to be polite and then you're not straightforward and direct enough in your communication to then get the sale, you've missed out on an opportunity to impact them. So would you rather soften your language and maybe get the sale, or be more direct so that you can impact them?
I want to throw something into this conversation. For years, I've created the 5 parts of belief. Believe that you work for the greatest company, you offer the greatest products, you're the greatest person, and believe you can differentiate yourself from your competitor, not compare yourself to them. But the 5th part of this ties in authenticity. If you as a salesperson do not believe in your heart that the customer is better off having purchased from you, you're going to be inauthentic. If you believe in your heart that the customer is better off having purchased from you, you're going to go for it. Like, dude, you may not say yes right now, but I know I'm the best for you. So I'm going to follow up until you tell me, go away and never call me again. And then I'm going to follow up for 3 more weeks, and then that's it. So you have to put yourself in that winning position in order to be able to convince the other guy that you're best, not second best, best.
Oh, that's so good.
You know, Jeffrey, one of the things I wanted to just pick your brain on around authenticity, I can see the library in the background, and everyone knows that you've created, or maybe they don't, you've created an anthology of books on sales and success that goes back over 100 years now. And I'm curious, as there we go. You can see books everywhere. That's near and dear to my heart. And I'm curious, as you look back, you know, and kind of rewind the tape back into last century and some of the early days of sales, you know, even back to Orson himself, Orson Swett Martin, right? Some of the legacy people. Where did you, where was sales 100 years ago when it comes to authenticity? And where do you think maybe we got off track?
Interestingly, that sales 100 years ago was about making a relationship. It wasn't until Fuller Brush came along that you had to push your way into someone's home by sticking your foot in the door so that the woman could not slam the door in your face. And that the Alfred Fuller autobiography literally is titled A Foot in the Door. and when it got into hoodwinking, which started in the late 40s and went through the 70s and 80s, it was a different kind of a process, but it was always in the beginning, tell the truth, you know, be there when they need it, ask the right questions. And look at John Patterson, who sold cash registers by never making a sales pitch for a cash register, but rather creating the demand for a receipt. All of his advertising said, get a receipt. And that's what a cash register does. And none of the people in the world had them at that moment in time. So when the salespeople came around, they would say, do you guys need receipts? Well, yeah, we do. And that was the beginning of the pitch. So think about it from that perspective. There's been a metamorphosis. Social media has obviously changed that significantly because now everyone is an authority. I mean, I look at people. I just saw something this morning about somebody who creates value propositions. Seriously? If there's a word in the value proposition that's the word "we," then it's bullshit. Any value proposition that has the word "we" in it is bullshit. But they think that, we have a value prop. They don't even call it proposition. They call it a prop. Yeah, it's our value prop. Value prop should be eliminated from sales lexicon completely, because it's only value if they buy. Or they call it value add or added value. Define that. Well, after you purchase, we give you this. Oh, so there's no value until I purchase. And
Hey, Daryl, here's what's interesting about this, because Daryl and I we enjoyed hanging out in your library not too long ago, a few months ago. And it goes back to, 100 years ago, they were called sales professionals for a reason. And I can't remember who the quote was, but our near and dear friend Todd Capone always drops this when he comes on our podcast, because he's a sales historian. And he always says this, and it goes back to a quote by somebody, I can't remember their name. It goes back to 1919. This person said, "If the truth won't sell it, don't sell it." And I think it plays out so well in this, because 100 years ago, there were sales professionals, and now today we call everybody else anything other than a sales professional. We hide behind all these titles. Why not just call yourself a sales professional and act like one? I'm just curious. It's interesting.
I think the best way to think of yourself really is a trusted advisor, because if you could become a trusted advisor as a sales professional, you win. And how do you gain trust? Well, by telling the truth.
Yeah, it's by some guy named Arthur Dunn.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I don't know if I have that book or not. So I'm going to check it out right now.
All of our books are cataloged in the library. So he can easily look in his filing system to see.
I love it.
That every book is cataloged.
That is legit.
It's called Scientific Selling and Advertising from 1919.
Yes.
I have a copy.
Fantastic. But this is what we're talking about here is so excellent. And by the way, for everyone listening in, I just see the chatter here in the YouTube comments. In a few moments, we're going to open it up for questions for Jeffrey and Jen. So if you have any questions, as you have questions, put them in the chat. But I think, like what you were saying about if it's not true, this is the temptation in sales right now, is to sugarcoat everything. And the reality is it's raw honesty that is going to win the day.
Yeah. If you have to remember what you said, don't say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you also have to look at everything going on around us. There's a lot of non-truth happening. So there are campaigns to make people think a certain way.
What do you mean, Jen? Like this bullshit?
There are, I'm not going to go down these rabbit holes for you. You can seek truth yourself. But once you start really being truthful with yourself and your customers, you can, and in the most innate way, you can begin to seek truth all around you. You can begin to look at signs and say, wait, is this actually true? Or is that what someone wants me to think? Mm-hmm. And you can look at what they're saying on TV and say, and I'm not just talking about, the big thing going on in the world. It's everything. Okay. It's truth in documentaries. Just because it's a documentary doesn't mean it's true. You get to think for yourself. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just because it's on the news doesn't mean it's true. In fact, it's most likely not true if it's on the news. Do your own research. Okay. And so, once you begin to have this bullish approach to delivering truth and delivering honesty, you will begin, and if you haven't already, to seek truth all around you. I mean, I remember riding down in Charlotte, riding down the street, seeing a sign on the side of the road. And I looked at the sign. I'm like, there's no house here. There's no business establishment here. Like, where did this sign come from? And it was trying to persuade you a certain way to believe a certain thing. It's like, okay, but people seeing that just automatically believe it to be true. Right. And so just start to question things, you guys. Just start to ask questions like, does this make sense?
It's good.
Also, from an asking questions standpoint, as a salesperson, if you begin your sales presentation with asking questions, you're going to be perceived as a hell of a lot brighter than someone who begins their sales presentation with this bunch of slides.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people have slides and they don't ask the question, would you mind if I showed you a bunch of my slides and bore the shit out of you? They don't say that. I think that the challenge that you have as a salesperson is to go into a call and love what you do and transfer that message. It's just that simple. It ain't that.
Beautiful.
It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. It's rocket fuel. If you have the authenticity, you're going to win. And if you don't, you're going to be putting gas in your car for $3.80 a gallon.
I love it. I have a feeling that's going to get quoted around here. It's not rocket science, it's rocket fuel, folks.
Yeah, that's a good one.
George Henderson has a question. For 2 years now, you've completely adapted and led by example to changes in the world, especially by buyers. I will say that's absolutely true. What lessons do you think will be different? What's going to be different in 2022 and moving forward?
In my opinion, people aren't just buying from a company anymore. They're really buying from you. And while this may have been true already in the past, they want to know you on a deeper level. Mm-hmm. They want to know your views on things and where you stand on things. And they want to be able to relate to you or not. And you're going to piss some people off by telling them how you really feel. And you know what? You're going to make the people who agree with you be even stronger believers and agreeers. And so it's okay in 2022 to be polarizing. It's okay to piss off half the people that wouldn't have bought from you anyway, and make the people that relate to you even stronger, can feel connected in an even more strong way. And I think that's going to be a big trend in 2022 because people are no longer holding back. They are telling you how they feel, and people who buy from you want to know. They want to know where you stand.
Oh, that's
he really piss people off. Just go to New York.
Yeah, that's true. But this is so good. And Jen, you bring up a really, really, really critical point, because I'm a firm believer that salespeople for all too long have hid behind the company. They've been in, right? Nothing wrong with product centric training, company training, and all that. It's part of the process. Mm-hmm. But for too long, and I've seen it over the last couple of years, salespeople are hiding behind their companies. You got to step in front of the companies, because you got to learn how to connect and relate in the very beginning. They might not even connect to the company or go to a big fancy website if they cannot connect and relate to you as a salesperson on that very first conversation.
Yeah.
2 things I want to say. Coca-Cola has been one of my customers for like years and years. There's 2 kinds of Coca-Cola salespeople. They stand behind the can, or they stand in front of the can. And that defines a salesperson completely. Here's our product, or let me explain how you can sell more of this product so you can make more profit. Those are the 2 kinds of salespeople. But I think it's more important, and to answer your question about today's world, we're experiencing supply chain shortage. Whether you think it's bullshit or not, it's kind of real. And if the customer calls and needs something and you say, we don't have it, but I'll call you the minute we get it, that's an idiot. If the customer calls and says they want something and say, we don't have it, but I'll find it for you and get it to you, even if I have to buy from my competitor, that's the guy who's going to get the next call. And I'm telling you, I've seen 100 examples of this over the last few months where the guy who scrambles is the guy who wins.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Also, figuring out how to incorporate virtual into your reality is going to be huge in 2022, because it's not just one or the other. It's not just having a Zoom meeting, but it's figuring out the combination of the two. When all this, hit, Lululemon did something really interesting. Lululemon, when their showrooms were closed, said, would you like a personal advisor, like to the a salesperson, but personal? I was like, yeah, what does that mean? And then I clicked yes, and it's like, okay, how would you like to connect with your person? Would you like a FaceTime call, a Zoom call, or some other way? And I'm like, whoa, this is cool. So I was looking for shorts. The girl shows up on FaceTime. We're like on the phone with each other. And she's like, okay, I know you're looking for shorts. Tell me what you're thinking. And I'm like, well, I just want to make sure they're not too short. Like, I can't tell from the website. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I have these 3 pairs. I'm going to try them on and show you because we're about the same height.
They take you in the dressing room and try shit on right in front of you. Well,
this was on a FaceTime call, though. That was so cool to me because it was closed, right? So I physically couldn't go try it on myself. And they adapted to figure out, okay, no one is doing this in the online shopping industry. You have to figure out in your world, because this stuff is going to come and go, and companies are going to choose to close or stay open or, adapt. How can you make the experience of buying an even better experience with the technology we now have available to us?
Somebody just asked a question, is there a place for scripts? If you're a brand new salesperson, you're going to need a script to understand how your product is conveyed and what it does. But you don't use the script. You just use the information inside. All scripts should just be bullets. And so you have what you need in order to be able to go forward. If you're an experienced salesperson, there is a place for scripts. It's winter. Start a fire with them.
And I think this is I mean, I've loved this conversation. I think this is why authenticity, I mean, hang out on social and get into any conversation. And I think it may even be the word of the year for 2022, because Lord knows what the word was for last year, if they've even voted on a word yet. But when I think of authenticity, and what I really respect about you, Jeffrey, is congruency, is the walk matches the talk. And you clearly know who you are. You stay in your lane, and you don't veer from it. And that's what I respect. And I respect what Jen's brought to the table. That's why we're a firm believer. This is all about a lifestyle. People smell if the talk matches the walk. If you're congruent, they see right through things now. And people are a whole heck of a lot smarter now than they ever have been. And they won't put up for much anymore. And that's why, mentors of mine for years have just said, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. When you can do that, and you can just enter into authentic, genuine conversations about connecting and relating, and you make it about them, people sense that immediately. They will start opening up and sharing things with you. And I want to play off what Jeffrey said. This stuff's not rocket science. It's simple, but yet it's so difficult to completely comprehend.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it in your own heart and soul, you're dead.
It's one thing to believe it. It's another thing to put it into practice. It's a whole new level to actually start doing it.
Yep.
What a great conversation today. As we wrap up,
here's the deal, Jenny. If you don't believe it, you're never going to be able to put it into practice.
That's right.
It starts with your belief, and then figuring out a manner to communicate it to where the other person is attracted enough to it to buy it.
Yeah.
It's great. What a fantastic conversation today. And I so appreciate both of you sharing your heart with us in all of this. As we wrap, A word, what one word of encouragement would you leave to sales professionals looking forward into 2022?
Don't quit. If you're going to quit your job because you don't like your job, become the best salesperson in the company, then quit.
Have
And
fun.
that way, your boss won't throw you under, well, he was a shitty sales guy anyway. No. We lost our best guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now go
Love it.
someplace else.
I love it.
Oh Lord! Hey, really quick, I'm just looking at something that William Albert put on there, because this plays out as one of my favorite quotes in Selling from the Heart, and I use it all the time, and I think it plays out with authenticity. Is salespeople have hypnotized themselves into believing what they're not doing doesn't work. And when it comes to authenticity, wrap your head around what I just said. Is you got to understand, bring your authentic self to the forefront if you want to connect and relate on that very first conversation. Because if you can't, you're swimming upstream just like a salmon.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a
And
good
there's
one.
a bear waiting for you.
Exactly.
That's right. Well, hey, Jen, Jeffrey, thank you so much. This has been fantastic, and what a treat, and what an incredible way to kick off this challenge. Just from the bottom of all of our hearts, keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate you so much.
Thanks, guys.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having
All right.
us.
See you guys.
Awesome. Larry, what a great way to kick off the 2022 Authentic Selling Challenge. I mean, holy smoke, so much fun.
No, and this is to me, this is what authenticity is all about. It's really knowing who you are. And in the very beginning of this, that's why we're a firm believer is that the inner work you do is going to fuel the outer success.
Mhm.
This plays off so well in authenticity, because you really have to get to know yourself. And I've heard people, time and time again, Daryl, say, hey, it's just me being me. And I'm not here to question it, right? And to get into any argumentative conversations. But the first thing that always goes through my head is, are you really being you?
It's a great question.
Now think about that.
Well, it's a great question. It's actually a big topic of discussion inside the Trust Building Intensive. We've got a fantastic cohort going through the Trust Building Intensive right now that started in the fall of 2021. And guess what? We're ready to launch a second cohort in the Trust Building Intensive. We'll be telling you about that throughout the week. But here's the deal. If this is resonating with you today and you're saying, you know what, I want to do some work here. I want to bring more authenticity to my clients and to my prospects. Pay attention to the Trust Building Intensive coming up. What we're doing is we're very practically applying trust building skills so that you can bring your authentic self to the marketplace and break some of these habits that we've been talking about. Tomorrow, we've got an incredible day lined up. We've got none other than the confidence creator herself, Heather Monahan. Holy smoke, Larry, you got to be here tomorrow. You have to be here tomorrow. You're a co-host, but everybody else, you want to be here tomorrow because Heather Monahan is fantastic. And I'm so excited to be coached by her.
Yeah, and I think the confidence part of this, Daryl, ties in so well when it comes to authenticity. And just before we wrap up, because there's one word that, and Jen used it just real recently, was she talked about believability. Mm-hmm. Is not everyone, and it's okay, not everyone's going to believe in you nor your message. But find those people who believe in you and your message and help them do better business. And I'm going to throw the hand up on this one, because that's things that I struggled with early on in my sales career. Is I wanted to do business with everybody. Well, guess what? Not everyone's going to like you or respect you or even trust you, but find those people and help those people become even better. And that's why I'm a big, huge believer that what we're doing here is a movement. It's a movement around authenticity in the sales world. It's long overdue. We're waving the towel on it. We're building a community on it. And we're just so appreciative that people are just raising their hands and saying, yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to the Selling from the Heart Insiders group. If you want to join a group of sales professionals that are running in the same direction and are moving towards being more and more authentic in everything, check it out, sellingfromtheheart.net/insiders. Please invite your friends to join us tomorrow, AuthenticSellingChallenge.com with Heather Monahan. Larry, I think we're off to a great start.
Oh, we're off to a great.
No. That's softening it. We are off to a great start, right, Jen? She's smiling in the background.
and
I'm going to break this Canadian habit.
No, it's all good. I do want to give a special shout out to Cindy Ashton. We love Cindy Ashton. She's the voice behind the Selling from the Heart Authentic Sales Challenge this year. So thank you, Cindy. I just wanted to squeeze that one in.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 o'clock noon Eastern. That's 9 on the West Coast. Have a great day of authentic success. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us today for the 2022 Authentic Selling Challenge. Authenticity requires action. You're challenged to take what you have learned today and put it into action right away. If you've enjoyed the ideas and inspiration you've received today, please take a moment to share this challenge with your friends and clients. Let's all take action. We'll see you again tomorrow.